Okay, so this is my second video on this topic. I didn't really cover what I wanted to last time. I didn't give enough of an overview of what this game really is, where it's been, where it's going, and the state of it now, who should buy it, and why you should buy it. So I'm gonna cover all of that now. So let's get into it.
Deus Vault!
To understand this game, I think we need to go back and talk about this game. The intro does have to speak in for me.
Europe has emerged from the Dark Ages. Now its people seek to make their mark in history. Families answer the call of the one true faith, sending their brave warriors to destroy, conquer, and convert in the name of the Lord. While another evil lurks within their walled cities. To crush a dynasty. Crusader kings forge a dynasty to rule a kingdom.
The original Crusader Kings lived up to its name much better than its predecessor. In it, you can only play as a Christian realm in 3 periods. That means no Muslims, no pagans, no papal state. The time periods were 1066, following the Battle of Hastings, 1187, which was the Third Crusade, which was one of the more successful crusades, if you could even call it that, and 1337, the beginning of the 100 Years' War. As for the reception this game got, it was polarizing, extremely polarizing. People either loved it or they despised it. And the reasons why people loved it were also the same reasons people hated it. People who loved it, they said about how it's deep, it's rich, it's historically accurate, it's hard to get into, but they love it the moment they do. People who hated it, they said that it's too hard to get into, it's too deep, too many complex things without a tutorial, which that's kind of a problem that's plagued the series ever since its first game. So what's the point in talking about Crusader Kings 1 if you have Crusader Kings 2? Mainly to go back and show how much of a true proof of concept this game was. Compared to every other grand strategy game out there, this brought it down to a role-playing level. You were a single ruler in a continent full of these power-hungry warlords. Careful planning and utilizing every little opportunity to its fullest, you could really carve a mark in this world. But here's the thing that sets this game so far apart from every other game. In a flash of minutes, everything you worked for, every hour spent working your way to the top, could all be reversed in a quick string of disease, excommunication, and assassination. Every victory is hard fought, and every failure resonates. That's all I'm going to say about Crusader Kings 1. Like I said, while it's a good proof of concept, it hasn't really held up too well. Especially with the second game out, which expands on the first game in every imaginable way. There is next to no reason to go back to the first game. The sequel, Crusader Kings 2, was released on February 14th, 2012. And let me just start off by saying, this game has some of the best trailers I've ever seen. Just here, have a taste.
Men, we awoke this morning as warriors. We will sleep tonight as legends! Duke of Gloucester, more like!
There are about 7 of those videos, and I will give a link to the channel they're all on down in the description below. So, anyways, back to Crusader Kings 2. The game that you can buy now is drastically different from the game that was originally released. What you're looking at now is what the game looked like in the original teaser trailer. The UI, the map, the character portraits, nearly everything was different. You could tell Paradox, the studio behind the series, really wanted to make this game a proper sequel to the original. Everything about it, though, screams remake. By no means is that a bad thing, though. Crusader Kings 1 was ugly then, and it's ugly now. Ugly to look at, and ugly to play. This remake takes the idea of keeping a feudal dynasty together and just completely runs with it. For instance, while the base game does only allow you to play as a Christian realm during a 400-year span of medieval history, kind of similar to the first game, the DLC started making it less about a feudal lord who could go on crusades, and more into a Dark Ages dynasty simulator, with expansion packs adding the ability to play as Muslims, Byzantians, Indians, Horse Lord steppe tribes, Jews, Zoroastrians, Republics, Norse warriors, and a huge amount of pagans. All of Paradox's games have this unique lifespan to them, where the base game at launch is the foundation, and it's almost as if there's a new game built on top of them using the existing framework. For example, playing as a Norse pagan might look the same to someone who hasn't played the game, but in reality, they have a completely different playstyle, religion, cultural expectations, and mechanics. When I say that the launch game is the foundation, I mean that over time, with every new expansion, every new patch, everyone is going to see something enhanced into their game. The base game with no DLC is a whole different beast than the base game at launch because of this. To those of you who are completely turned off of games where you just sit and stare at a map and menus for hours on end, congratulations. You sat through this far into this video without me addressing anything about how to play this game. I'm going to fix that for you all now. This is the world map. Every single province on this map that is clickable has a ruler. Provided you have the expansion packs, every single one of these characters are available for you to play, no matter the age or gender. All of these characters have a religion, an extensive family dynasty spreading back hundreds of years, an immediate family, friends, rivals, and unique character traits that affect the choices they make. This is all depending on their upbringing. Whenever you choose a character, every single one will be unique. A kind, trusting vassal will support their liege. A zealous warrior will be trying to spread their faith. A schemer will be trying to plot ways to get their dynasty more power. And an insane, cruel tyrant will be imprisoning everybody on a whim and executing them for just about any petty reason. All of these actions get a reaction by the other characters in the world, meaning if this tyrant does enough to enough people, there's going to be almost like a Game of Thrones situation where there's going to be an all-out rebellion in their realm. The most important goal is to keep your dynasty alive and owning land. Once you're kicked from your last holding or your last family member dies, it's game over. Might sound easy enough if you're a large family, but this is the Middle Ages. If you are unfortunate enough to survive through childbirth, you have a dozen different kinds of sicknesses like the Black Death to fight, invaders to resist, rebellions to put down, all while having the ever-looming threat of assassination in your mind. When your current character dies, you play as their heir. Plenty of my games have ended up being where I would groom an heir, along with a few backups, only to have them all tragically die and battle into disease. Then, I ended up having to play as my stuttering infant son, who was also insane. Needless to say, he was assassinated pretty soon after taking power, and game over. One final thing I want to touch on about how to play this game is goal management. One of the most common complaints I see from new players is that they have no clue what the point of the game is. While I just described the fail states, there's more to this game than just keeping your bloodline intact. There are no defined goals whatsoever. That means you have to create your own. These goals can be anything small, like maneuvering your family to the top of the food chain by becoming a king, or getting revenge on a character who murdered a family member by sleeping with his wife, killing his children, and locking him away in your dungeon for the rest of his life. Or you could do something a little bit more grandiose, like restoring the Roman Empire to its former glory, or creating a master race of dwarves by purging the non-dwarf population in your kingdom. There are endless amounts of examples like these, and the only way to accomplish them is to try the game out for yourself. There's something that needs to be addressed before we go any further into this video. By now, I imagine the majority of you have at least checked out the Steam page for this game and found this ridiculously long list of DLC. I know how much of an instant turnoff this can be for people, so let me try to explain it as somebody who owns the majority of the add-ons. I like to break the DLC down into 3 different categories. First is the expansion packs. These are the meat of the add-ons and offer the most content. All of these either drastically change or add a game mechanic that enhances the game in some way. The thing about this content though is a large majority of it is standalone features, such as the Republic, adding a new faction type that's extremely different from the other government types, or a pack like Sons of Abraham that has the ability to play as a Jewish ruler and adds events around that, along with a recreated religion mechanic. The thing Paradox does with these expansions is add some of the larger changes into everyone's game as a free patch. For example, in Rajas of India, a whole subcontinent is added to the game, along with the ability to play as Indian rulers. While owning the expansion lets you play as the Indian rulers, the patch released alongside the expansion added the entirety of India for free for everybody. So that means you can play against them and conquer them, just not play as them. So with this system, Crusader Kings now is an entirely different game than Crusader Kings at launch. The second category is the artistic fluff. Most of this stuff is new graphics and music. It really should have been added along with the expansion it was released with. While the new unit graphics look nice and the music is fantastic, most people shouldn't pick this up unless they're a huge fan of this game. The portrait packs, on the other hand, they should be bought. I believe this because 95% of the game, all you're looking at is other characters. These portraits make the different cultures actually look different, instead of half the world looking like the same white guy and the other half of the world looking like the same Arab guy. The third category is customization. The things in this category are pretty lackluster content-wise and should have been included in a free patch or just all bundled together and sold as one pack. But if you want any sort of customization, you will want to get these packs. It enhances immersion. If you want to add a beard and long hair to your 80-year-old ruler, being able to name your great-grandson after his dead father, or creating yourself and conquering Europe under your own last name. I want to finish off this video by briefly touching on some topics. While I didn't mention multiplayer, this game does include it. In recent patches, it has improved with Steam matchmaking and more, but I haven't gotten into it enough to give it a fair review. Modding, on the other hand, I can cover. Being an extremely mod-friendly game, there have been overhaul after overhaul that made this game all the more worth it. My personal favorites include Elder Kings and Elder Scrolls World brought into the Crusader Kings 2 engine with all the expected features such as vampires, magic, Dragonborn, and all the races including the main series, including Argonians and Altmer. Then, there's a Crusader Kings 2 Plus mod that refines all the existing game mechanics and builds on top of them to make a much deeper game in the standard Europe setting. And of course, a Game of Thrones mod. Probably attributing to half this game's sales, this mod brings all of Westeros and Essos into the engine, including all known families, wars, locations, and brings new mechanics like an invasion of White Walkers, dragons, and sword combat. This is one of my favorite games, and I can still come back to it years after its release and experience new scenarios and stories. If you haven't yet, watch some video tutorials online, learn some more about this game, and give it a try for yourself. Thanks for watching.